In Kenya, someone is always watching.
Hello and welcome to this episode of the
I
Big
think
Picture.
we are all
Big
being
Picture,
watched.
Big
If they need
Conversations.
boo, they'll still
episode is
get me.
specifically special
Kenya has
for
seen surveillance is a complex task with far-reaching implications.
And I'm joined by my co-host.
Its actors are agents working in the shadows,
Justine,
drawn
thank you
from
for
the
being here.
intelligence service
Before we
or the
get to our
police,
special
but
guest
what-
today, we should watch a trailer for a documentary we premiered yesterday, titled Invisible Eyes. This documentary goes behind the scenes to use publicly available information and records to bring evidence to you that the state is using a very much trusted telecommunications company and many other methods to access your information about where you live, the people you talk to, and what you're up to. Frankly, this information could lead to so many things. We've seen it lead to deaths and abductions. Who knows what it could lead to tomorrow? But before we continue, without further ado, let's roll the trailer for Invisible Eyes.
In Kenya, someone is always watching.
I think we are all being watched. If they need boo, they'll still get me.
Kenya has seen an increase in abductions, disappearances, arrests, and killings.
Now to a top story. Concern is mounting over the discovery of dead bodies of missing persons in the wake of increasing cases of abduction in the country.
Last year, after people broke into parliament, there was a lot of death and element of sadness and the realization that it could have been any one of us.
State surveillance is a complex task with far-reaching implications. Its actors are agents working in the shadows, drawn from the intelligence service or the police, but working in secret.
In the intelligence world, mobile phone is vulnerable to ubiquitous surveillance.
We ask the question, what does the state do when nobody's watching? In Kenya, someone is always watching.
I think we are all being watched. If they need boo, they'll still get me.
Kenya has seen an increase in abductions, disappearances, arrests, and killings.
Now to a top story. Concern is mounting over the discovery of dead bodies of missing persons in the wake of increasing cases of abduction in the country.
Last year, after people broke into parliament, there was a lot of death and element of sadness and the realization that it could have been any one of us.
State surveillance is a complex task with far-reaching implications. Its actors are agents working in the shadows, drawn from the intelligence service or the police, but working in secret.
In the intelligence world, mobile phone is vulnerable to ubiquitous surveillance.
We ask the question, what does the state do when nobody's watching? In
Once you've watched the trailer, go watch the full documentary. It's just 27 minutes long. It'll be worth your time, I promise. But before we go further, I think it's only right that we introduce our guest and rope him into the conversation. We're joined by a guest who's not new to this show, Dr. Joseph Mugashia. He's the co-convener of the Concerned Citizen Movement of Kenya, CCM Kenya. We'll get to what that means outside Kenya, but Daktari, you haven't had a chance to watch the documentary yet, I believe. But
No, I haven't watched it.
You haven't yet.
Yes.
But there has been so much about Safaricom and other telecommunication companies and how much access authorities have to data within the control of these companies. I know you've read about it, but how badly do you think this could end?
That's the super surveillance.
Yeah.
Following, electronically following people's conversations and, excuse me, we are talking about the most trusted telecommunications company getting involved.
Yeah.
Now, let's start from the basics, really. And we state that it is right for governments to know exactly what their citizens are doing and what other people in the country are doing. That is normal in every place, whether there is telecommunications or not. However, this is normally prioritized, and there is a threshold at which you are supposed to follow the activities of individuals, and these people must come out as a threat. And if you follow the law again, there is supposed to be legal approval through the judicial system. There is supposed to be a warrant that is issued. And that warrant is given because there is a threat, a credible threat to the nation, or the person becomes a person of interest. But what we are seeing in this country, and we have been seeing it for some time, is that people are followed for doing things that are normal and constitutional. For instance, I say I want to run for president. Why should anybody be following me because of saying that? In the Constitution, any one of us can seek or can hope to be a leader, and you can come out and say. So the other thing is you criticize the government, and you are allowed freedom of expression, freedom of conscience in the Constitution. So what is happening now is that a lot of state resources are being used to surveil people, to follow people unnecessarily and illegally. So if this continues, then it erodes the confidence of people with the government. It also denies people freedoms that are guaranteed in the Constitution. It also creates fear, and people are not willing even to cooperate with the government. And on the commercial side, people will not respect the communication agencies or even each other. And therefore, what will happen is we get a country where people are not willing to cooperate with the government. And that is to the detriment of national security. So instead of enhancing national security, they are actually degrading national security and also causing suspicion on legitimate commercial business, that is communication. So I would urge Safaricom, first of all, to stop cooperating wherever there is no legal justification. If there is no court warrant, then they should not cooperate. Then for the courts, I appeal to the courts to follow the law and only issue warrants where they are merited, but not the issue of following people because they have criticized the government.
Yeah.
Yes.
Justine, you make very important points, Dr. Ari, and we'll go on about how this has been deployed in Tanzania before thousands were killed over the past week. Justine, I'll ask you a very different question. Mm-hmm. What shocked you the most about that documentary?
I think some of it was, like the things that you suspect is happening, and then it's just almost like confirmation. I really hated that all the suspicions that I had were just so obvious. But I think the thing that really shocked me the most is not just the lengths that government agencies will go to hyper-surveil people. It's just the dismissal of the concerns that Kenyans actually have. I'll give an example of what happened to Rose Tunguru. Rose was very clear about just making sure as many different people can put in their concerns about a certain bill. That is literally public participation. At its level, at the base level, if you're a person in government, that's an opportunity to realize that there's a difference in the way we communicate with younger people, what they're interested in. How do we just make sure to make this easier for them to communicate with us? That's an opportunity for communication. But the government and even people in parliament were making a mockery of her her need to publicly participate. And I think that's the thing that shocked me. It's like this is such an obvious opportunity for communication that is being bungled in such a difficult way, and also removing a mother of 2 kids from her home. She was saying her child cannot stay away from her now. Like every time, like the kid thinks something bad is going to happen to mom. Like that's a very, as Dr. Aria said, that's like an erosion of trust on a very basic level. It's very difficult to trust the government after that. It's really, really difficult.
I remember interviewing Rose at her home, and the sons could not leave the room. It's like Rose had to talk them into agreeing to leave the room just so she can express herself. And you know, kids are constantly moving around.
Yeah.
You need them out of the room to do the interview. And every time, after almost 20 minutes, every 20 minutes we'd hear a knock on the door because the kids want to come back in.
Yeah.
And they were constantly protective and around her. And you could tell in that moment that they were afraid something like that would happen. But yeah, if you get time, go watch the documentary, leave your thoughts, share it with people that you know, share it within those circles, and let's have a conversation about this. But
there's something we need to add here.
Yeah.
Well, this is not the first time we are seeing this in Kenya. We had it during the Moi regime, particularly after the 1982 coup.
Yeah.
We saw it all the way up to 1997. And what brought it down in 1997, coming to 2002, is that people came out and talked. So here in Kenya, we don't have to wait for it to be to reach the Tanzanian level. What we need to do, and I call upon all Kenyans, is that stop even going to the mtandao, stop going to the internet. Let's go to the social halls and let them come and listen to what we are saying. Let them come and meet us and hear what we are saying. But we should not be playing this hide and seek game of communication. And then you make a very honest and very patriotic contribution to a discussion, and the next thing, there are guys banging on your doors. Yes. Let's do the town hall meetings, and they find us there in the town hall meetings. Yeah. Then they can come and write their reports.
Yeah,
yeah.
So that couldn't have said it better, Daktari. In another country, right across the border, doing just that, talking online, or even showing up to these events and speaking up about these issues could get you killed. I'm talking about Tanzania. 1,000, 3,000, we've seen so many figures, but constantly every day, every hour, you see videos of not 1 or 2 bodies, but multiple bodies, bloody, shot in the head, clearly executed in a country that is just next door to Kenya. What does that make you feel? Justine, how does that make you feel?
I think this East African collaborative repression agreement that is going on needs to end, because there's just a level of, I think, the helplessness that comes with just seeing people of another country just rightfully asking to be listened to. And people can be mad, people can be furious, but also there's a way that the state can go about listening and interacting with people, but like killing them, it's like execution style. People are just like bullets through bodies, and then there's like people are being dragged down the street. It's very degrading, and it almost feels like a deliberate attempt. Like if you see something like that, it's so gory, it strips people of their humanity in such a difficult way, and then you're supposed to view something like that and then just go about your day. Oh, wow. That's terrifying to me. And the fact that there's any kind of justification for something that, like what's happening in Tanzania, oh, it's about power, or it's about what, like, those are not even arguments we should be having, because these are people's lives. These are people's kids. These are people who had dreams and futures and wanted something better for themselves. Yes. Standing up for what you want should not be something that gets you killed. Yeah. It shouldn't be. It should not be allowed. It's frankly disgusting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm just seeing a comment here from John Allen, who used to be part of I think he is part of the show. Forgive me for saying he used to be part of this show. He is part of this show. Yeah, he's just on a vacation, an extended vacation for a number of months, but he'll be back. It says here, if there seems to be a closing of ranks of East African governments via surveillance and closing down of public spaces, what is the opportunity for common citizens in EAC? I think this connects the surveillance documentary and the main topic for discussion here, that everywhere you look, there seems to be someone listening to you. But then how do we react to this? What is the opportunity for us, citizens of East Africa? Daktari, that's to you.
Okay. Thank you very much. You know, we have seen so much within a very short time, and everything appears to be building on top of each other.
Yes.
And to answer that question, I want to go back to last year, June, during the protests. We had claims that there were people from the neighboring countries who are here suppressing the protests,
Yeah.
and the government said nothing about it. Now, that in the first place is failing to assure citizens of their security. But of course, they could not have done it because they were doing, even the people we could see and identify, policemen who are Kenyans, they were doing the same thing, and therefore the government said nothing about it. Now, the issue of foreigners being in another country, and if in Kenya, for instance, in this case, is a very serious thing, because that works to an invasion by foreign forces, because these people are armed and they are hurting citizens. So that is an invasion. And you come in and ask yourself, the president is the person who swore to guarantee the safety and security of Kenyans,
Yeah.
and the maintenance of the integrity of the nation, using the internal security and the defense forces. That's the KDF. So when people come from outside and they are operating in your country, then what legitimacy do you have to continue leading that country? And then the other question is, what happened to the KDF? Because that is no longer an issue of the police. These are armed people who have come from outside, and they have come into the country. That was the claim. But we had nothing said by the president. We had nothing said by the military. That means our country has been left to be attacked by foreigners.
Yeah.
Now, for them to do that, they must also have been doing surveillance. And if they were doing surveillance, who allowed them to do their surveillance? Then it is our own security system, headed by the president, because the president is the chief security officer of the country. Then we have Tanzania, where the president, Samia Suluhu, comes on national TV and says she's aware people came from foreign countries and they came to cause mayhem, and she even mentions the towns. Now the question is, what was Tanzanian defense forces doing? Because whenever there is aggression from outside, it is no longer a police matter. It is a matter of national security intelligence and the military. It's not even it's not the police. So we are seeing a situation where the East African countries, and especially Kenya, Uganda, and Tanzania, appear to be in an unholy alliance, where their business is to suppress dissent by violent means. Yeah. That is state-sponsored violence. And that explains why all this surveillance is being done. And we come to another thing. We had Boniface Mwangi and Agatha arrested in Tanzania and thoroughly tortured in a way that you would not expect human beings to do to another human beings. We had Bob Jagi and Nikoyo in Uganda, where the president of Uganda comes back and says, yeah, I am the one who had these people. And our own president, actually had a lackluster response to the issue. Actually, he himself personally never made any comment.
Statements, yeah.
Instead, we are being told the former president is the one who got these people released. That is the height of abdication of duty. Because regardless of why these people were arrested, they are citizens of the Republic of Kenya.
Yeah.
And what the government should do is like what we saw them do for the lady in Vietnam, who was actually a criminal, but they went all out to try and save her. So why is it that people who are law-abiding citizens, who happen to be on the wrong side of political power, then are burdened by their own government?
Yeah.
We can only conclude that these people are in cahoots. And this surveillance, the way it's working, it looks like, and I'll use the word looks like, that the agencies in the different countries are actually cooperating.
100%.
And that is very unfortunate.
Yeah.
Because we have had people who have said they were followed by Kenyans in Kenyan security forces, security agents in Tanzania before it became very bad. There are people who said, yeah, we were followed there. So there is a nexus between the three East African countries.
Yes.
And unfortunately, these are the key East African countries.
Yes.
They are the ones who are supposed to be leading the way in democratic governance.
They're the stable ones.
Yes.
Yes.
So what it appears is the citizens are left on their own, and we have to go back and claim our sovereign power so that we are able to control our leaders.
Our leaders.
You remember one time, the last time I was here, I said that Kenyans, and now our word East Africans, we have all become hostages of our own leaders. It is time we went back to our constitutions, because all the constitutions are socio-democratic. And the sovereign power belongs to the people. It is time each country goes back to its constitution and holds its leaders to account.
Yeah.
Starting with Kenya, where we are. We should hold our leaders to account.
Yeah.
And I've also said several times that our biggest problem, our biggest letdown is the National Assembly followed by Senate.
Absolutely.
Because these people are taking people to the streets. They are shouting all over. But we have delegated to them the power to check the president. So when they come and tell us the president is corrupt, what do they expect us citizens to do?
Yeah.
We should stop listening to them and tell them, go and impeach the president and come back to us after that,
Yes.
after you have impeached the president.
Yeah, because it's clearly unpopular. I
Yes.
think I'd love to ask Justine to come in, Daktari,
Okay.
because she is very vocal about whatever is happening in the region, everything that's happened in the region. You spoke about Kiza when he was arrested. You've spoken about what happened to Boni and Agatha. And you're seeing all these people shot in the head in Tanzania. You're seeing people abducted in Uganda and held for a long time, the president laughing about it online. For me, that comes across as a group of presidents across the region that are running from something, and they're trying to evade a clear loss of popularity, and they know that their time is coming to an end. That's what that means to me as a citizen of East Africa. But what does that mean to you, Justine? What's this signaling?
I think living in Jumuiya ya Madictator is so stressful because like right now, I shared a graphic over the weekend and it was just like, you know that man in a tunnel who's like digging and then on the other side, it's just like he has to dig a little more and then he gets gold. But like if you're living in East Africa, if you're digging, regardless of where you are, it's just like you're surrounded by stones. And I think that's what it feels like to be in these three countries, where your freedom just goes as far as you don't say the wrong thing, you don't do the wrong thing, you don't disturb the quote-unquote peace that is perceived to be in the region. I'll say, like, the thing that we collectively have as the region, like there's this perceived unity that is in the region. Like we're allowed to travel in and out of each other's countries. We almost feel like we're in a sibling relationship with each other. But then the people who are in charge of like whatever family we are supposed to have are raining down so much terror on us, but it's not like the compliance again. The compliance is not like, it's not just like the 3 people who are at the top. It's the people who surround them and like hold them to account. We have representative democracies. Kenya at least has like one very strong like people really are in touch with what is happening in their country. But then the alliance does not just end with like the dictators at the top and like what it is that they're doing. It's also like parliament is also attached itself to the executive. Like we don't have a cohesive foreign policy where it's like, oh, we're a sovereign nation, but like we are sovereign, so you should punish our citizens who are coming to your countries to disturb the peace. And I'm like, what kind of foreign policy is that? You're giving away the sovereignty of Kenyans by just dismissing their concerns, removing their citizens, stripping them of their citizenship when they walk outside of the borders. If they're not even safe within their own countries and they go to another country, it's like there's no difference. And there's almost like an understanding that we are on our own. And also there's another layer of people who are like, don't go to those countries and become an activist. And I'm like, look, some people who are being harmed were just there for business. Like someone had just gone there, they work there, they just happen to be a Kenyan. Yeah. Now they're being followed around, they're being jailed. There's, I think it's Frederick.
Yes.
Frederick was jailed for 8 days.
Yeah, the story that Nation ran.
Yes. He was jailed for 8 days. He didn't have access to like a cell phone. Yes. He could not reach out to the people.
Fed once a day.
Yes.
Yeah.
And that's not even like, the thing that really frustrates me about this particular story and the way it's almost like we're being designed to live in carceral states where your freedom is not guaranteed, and you should not think of it. You should not think about the things that you say, the things that you do, how you live. You should not think of yourself as a free person. You should just start from jail and then walk from jail to jail as you're traveling. If you go to Tanzania, you're in a jail. If you're in Kenya, you're in a jail. If you go to Uganda, you're in a jail. Because if you say anything, it's like you're trying to break out, and how dare you stand up against the system that is in place when it's actually your right to be free and like to be able to have like a political cohesion and even relationship with like your fellow East African members.
And you know what you've just said reminds me of the story of a teacher who was shot as he was going to buy food in Tanzania. So this dude was not protesting. Yeah. And one of the 2 gentlemen on the story that Nation ran, 2 of them were jailed for 8 days. Held in a what I'd call a dungeon. Mm-hmm. It's a cell underneath a police station. Yes. And they were held for 8 days. Both of them were not protesting. One was heading to the airport to catch his flight. The other one was just minding his business, and then he was arrested and held without charge for that long. And it took the involvement of authorities, Kenyan authorities in Tanzania, to get him released, allegedly. But there's this, I'd want us to get to the next phase of this conversation, which is, there has for long been this facade of Tanzania being this country that has peaceful citizens. Its people do not like violence. Its people don't like disrupting power because their country works for them, which is not true. It's clearly coming to light that this isn't true. Reminds me of a quote which says, the absence of violence is not the presence of peace. Just because peace exists doesn't mean that injustices don't exist. And in Tanzania, it's exactly that. People have been abducted, journalists have been killed. Magufuli, the former president before Samia, was just as autocratic. He hated dissent. Samia was jailing pastors and religious voices which dissented and called her out for what she was doing. Jailed journalists, and I think a sports journalist was also shot as he was reporting in Tanzania. There's a muzzling of any form of dissent and expression of opinion that does not represent the current power structure as it exists. Is that the same thing that we've had in Kenya for a while, Daktari? That we're seeing this country being so peaceful. It's a country that all expatriates from the US can come to and feel like they're in New York of Africa. And we have a Silicon Savannah that works and everything is peaceful until last year. Is that a fair assessment?
Yeah, I think to deal with that question, I mean, it's good to look at the progression that we have had. We started from the colonial times when life was very difficult, and that is where, in my checking backwards, that is a historical research backwards, that is where you found all this thing about lying. Like, if you go to the street and you ask somebody, where are you going? A Kenyan will always tell you, I'm going this direction. They'll never tell you where they are going. That was because of the kind of suppression that was there, and everybody kept the information to themselves, and they would always get somebody off the way. That moved on, and when we became independent, we became very hopeful. And as we are the independence generation, and our business was to build the nation. And we came in and did our best until the final days of Kenyatta, when we started having suppression. And then Moi came in, and with Moi there was also a lot of hope for change until 1982 with the coup, and again we went to suppression, very serious suppression, where now the absence of war or violence is not equal to peace. And then we got Kibaki.
Wait, what did that look like? A little bit of what did it look like? That suppression, so that people were seemingly peaceful, but
it looks like what we have today. Where now today, because of the new constitution, we still have quite a lot of freedom. But that time, I would not even talk the way we are talking here. I would not talk to you the same when we meet on the street. People are talking again in whispers, like we had gone back to the pre-independence days. And that again, it emphasized the need to be secret with your information, because you never know who you are talking to. And that is the kind of surveillance now we are talking about, because that time it was mainly physical surveillance, because the electronic surveillance was not good at that time. Then we came to, it reached a point where people said, no, we cannot continue living like this. And again, people disappeared. People were abducted. People were jailed were detained without trial. And then it reached a point where the population said, no, this is not how we as Kenyans want to live, and our constitution does not want us to live like this. And so there was a lot of pressure, that is public pressure, international pressure as well, but public pressure was a lot. And we got the elections in 2002 when Kibaki came in. And when Kibaki came in, that is the time we had a lot of freedom, a lot of tolerance. People could say anything about the president, and the president just laughs it off and says, if you see I'm not doing well, then I will improve. It was not about fighting you back as a citizen. And we all agree that during Kibaki's time, we had the best socio-economic development, and we have seen it. Then now we came to Uhuru, and we lost a lot of the gains that we had with Kibaki. Because again, that is when we had the yellow bodies. We have never been told who was putting bodies there. And now we see a person who was the internal security minister wants to be our president. I think Kenyans would be making a very big mistake to put in somebody like that. Ask him that question when he comes here. He will turn red. Although he is brown, he will turn red. He cannot answer that question. So we lost quite a bit of that freedom. We lost people. Surveillance also started. And then we come to, Ruto comes to power. And now surveillance is hitting the peak. And now it's not only hitting the peak, it is coordinating with the East African region. So the question you ask about how we felt, during the time of Moi, we could feel the absence of peace. It was tangible.
How?
You could feel it. Everybody was looking like gazelles in the wild, just checking who is around you. And there is internal torment. You have no peace. but there is a semblance of peace. But it reached a point where even foreigners started disappearing. Like you remember the case of Julie Ward,
Yes.
who came as a tourist and then she was killed, and up to date we don't know who killed her. So we had when you have this kind of situation, you reach a point where even the foreigners simply stop coming because they are not safe. You have seen in Tanzania, for instance, the Americans have issued their advisory, and they have said you have to be very, very careful. Actually, basically what they are telling you in soft diplomatic language, don't go there. That's basically what.
Could get shot in the head by accident.
Yeah, that's what they are. That's what they are telling you. Those people cannot. They cannot take responsibility. So during those times, the times of Moi, particularly towards the end, this is the kind of thing we were having: over surveillance, unwarranted surveillance, and that eventually led to disappearances and killings.
Yes, at that time.
And we have seen it last year, and even coming to some time this year, we had abductions, we had killings, and these people, when you look at it, what did they do? They just questioned the government, and it is our right to question the government. So in closing, what I would say is that, again, it is for us, the citizens, to take back our sovereign power and exercise it.
Yes.
Our leaders must understand, and we must make them understand, that they are not our masters. They are our servants.
They're chosen by us.
Correct.
To be in those positions.
Yes.
Before we continue, I'd like to point out 2 comments by people joining the live. Lewis Sawe, big up to you for constantly joining our lives, but he says even that time Besigye was kidnapped in Nairobi. I think he's contributing to the conversation that we're having right now. And then Victor says, I think Kenyans need to focus more on how their government did not seem to care and appeared to have done little to help their people in both situations. I think he's talking about Agatha and Boni. Yeah. And then there was this situation of Nick Oyo and Bob Njagi, and the government said nothing about it.
But I think, I don't know if you remember this, what is it called? The foreign, what is his name? Like his title, his fake title.
Yes.
The guy with the fake title.
Musalia Mudavadi.
Yes, what's the name of the title? Prime Cabinet Secretary. Yeah.
Which does not
Yes, someone who holds an unconstitutional office was sitting across from a journalist. If I'm not wrong, it's Yvonne Okwara. Yvonne asked, why is the government not stepping in or saying anything regarding the disappearance and the abductions that are happening across the border? Yeah. And he was very dismissive of the question. He didn't answer the question, but like what he ended up saying is almost to the works of like, it's almost like it's your duty to know where you are. It's like safety starts with you. And I'm like, that can't be your foreign policy position. That cannot be your position on the sovereignty of the country, because the safety of Kenyans is, to put it in his title, your prime cabinet position. Like you're supposed to be standing in the gap because you hold power to make sure that citizens are not being harmed. Yes. So the moment you are just like, I don't care, good luck to you, and like wherever you are, that's a dismissal of the Kenyan sovereignty as it stands, and also the safety of all of us. Because what happens to him, particularly if he goes to a country and then they take him? Who is he expecting to come out and say that we need to bring this particular person back? Because as a country, we cannot allow any Kenyan to be unsafe and taken and abducted and disappeared. Yeah. That should be the baseline stance. We can have beef as Kenyans, but you cannot use the I don't like use of the country as part of how you want to dismiss and treat. Yeah. It's a very difficult position to be as a Kenyan, to hear people in power just be dismissive and completely in cooperation with someone who's like, I will disappear you and I know your country is not going to come for you. And that's very scary.
And you'll remember, Justine, when the when the habeas corpus was filed in Uganda,
Yes.
and the Ugandan court said you need to file a missing persons, and then the PS and the Ministry of Affairs just posted that like the family needs to go and file a missing persons, and that's where we are with this case, as if president can't get on the call with the other president to simply just negotiate the release of these people. It's absurd to even think
By
about
the
it.
way, it is not the responsibility of the family to go and file
Yes.
a missing person. Let's also inform Kenyans
What's the
that
procedure?
when you are in the country, internal security is responsible for your security. Your safety and security is the job of internal security, and the person at the top of it is the president.
Yes.
However much anybody we may want to say to the contrary, that is what we have in our constitution, and that is why we have government. Now, when you move out of the country, it is the responsibility of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. And you, as a person, you have no business and you have no mechanism of filing to another government. It is your government which is supposed to do it. And that is the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. And again, who is at the top? It is the president. After all these other people have failed, it is the job of the president to call the other president and say, hey, look, my people are in your custody, or they were arrested or abducted in your country. You need to tell me where those people are. It is the president of the, it is the responsibility of the president. It is not Uhuru's, the former president, Semanit. The former president is a civilian now, like any one of us. He has no mandate to talk to another government.
Yes.
So in Kenya, what I see is that we are failing to understand the responsibilities of the different arms of government or agencies of government, including the presidency. That's the president. We need to understand that. Finally, when the Minister for Foreign Affairs comes and says that those people went there, we didn't know how they went, it is a reflection of the failure of his agency, because that ministry is supposed to train Kenyans on how to move out of the country and how they should behave in the other countries. Why is it that the US issues advisories? They issue advisories because it is their responsibility. In fact, what they are doing is to preempt court action. Then they can say, yes, we gave advisories, we are still going to work on it, but we have executed our mandate.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
I want us to get to the second leg of this conversation. We're almost running out of time, sadly. But President Ruto was interviewed by Al Jazeera just yesterday, and he was asked about the credibility of the elections in Tanzania. To which he said, well, in a democracy, for example, in Kenya, you can never get 96%. That's what he said, in reference to Samia's 98% win at the elections, quote unquote. I've just been thinking about this statement. I don't know what both of you think, but I don't think that that's a very true thing to say. I think as things stand right now, 96% is a stretch. It's virtually impossible. But with the trajectory the country is on, it's not going to be something foreign or unrecognizable in 10 years if a president, even him, extends his third term with a 96% win. I think it's something that is very possible in the country. A democracy falls slowly. Its leaders chip away at it bit by bit over years. I frankly find this to be very dismissive of him, and the fact that he refused to even call out the tyranny ongoing in Tanzania, that's him lending some credibility which doesn't exist, but he's very little credibility, what is left of his credibility, to attempt to save Samia's reputation. But what he's doing to the country right now, what he did to the country last year and what he did to the country in 2023 when dissent was witnessed, I don't think a 90 or 80% win in 2027 or in the 10 years after in 2037, I don't think it's impossible. That's how a democracy falls. It happened in Iran. It's happened in other countries. Sudan was supposed to be a democracy.
In Bangladesh.
Yes, in Bangladesh,
Yeah.
when Sheikh Hasina took office, she was supposed to be this beacon of hope. But then slowly she became this autocrat, and that's the trajectory that President Ruto is on. I don't know how both of you thought of those statements.
Honestly, I watched a little bit. It's actually my friend who resides in Tanzania who sent it to me. And the first thing that I just noted from that clip that they sent was an obvious, just like a blanket, I did not see Tanzanian citizens in this conversation at all. Like you can tell, like from the first few minutes you watch it, Tanzanian citizens are not mentioned. Their will, their ask, the tragedies that they're experiencing, it's not mentioned. And it's a mirror to what has happened here. Talking about like a 98% vote is not trying to salvage the reputation of like your partner in tyranny or in authoritarianism is not a surprise to me. It's actually a reflection of, I think, how they see each other and how they protect each other. And to me, that does not come as a surprise, which is very tragic, considering we consider ourselves like such a beacon of democracy in the region. It's ironic that no one is surprised when you see a clip like that, and you just know for a fact, most people are buddies. If you already congratulated someone on their win, on their landslide victory, because that's what he wrote. Like you said, as the president of Kenya, you have congratulated someone on a 98% a landslide victory when there were literal blackouts and internet cutouts and all these things and mass murders at the very, very front of someone winning, someone who was sworn in a military barracks. Like anything you say after the fact, we just know you're covering.
You're closing rank.
That to me, that's what I saw, and I don't know how any Kenyan who watched that could feel like, oh, you're just trying to be diplomatic and everything. If you can't even mention what happened to Tanzanians and what continues to happen to them, then I don't think you perceive the truth of the situation, or even you care about the truth of the situation. Yeah.
Complete erasure of the loss of life.
Absolutely.
Yeah. You know, when I heard that statement, I said whoever gave this guy a pass in statistics should just go and withdraw that pass, because we know that possibilities are there. In a democracy, you can get whatever it is, except 100%. But you can get any number. Because, again, as you put it, the way he is going, he could even make the history by getting 100% rejection. Now, it is wrong to state something like that with confidence, because we know that in a democracy, people look at how well they have been served, and then they decide. But maybe when I look at it, it's like he was simply saying diplomatically, this was a bungled election. And since he had made that congratulation or congratulatory message, he wouldn't want to be seen to be contradicting. But the thing is, that statement is very wrong, coming from a person who claims to have the level of education he does. Yes.
And I'm seeing a comment here. Masai says, thank you for the conversation. Thank you, Masai, for joining. And Hilo raises a very important point, something that I was thinking about as I was speaking. He says Uhuru was voted by a section of society and everyone abstained, but people still celebrated. I think he's referring to 2017, after the election was thrown out of the window, and then people went to vote again, and then the result of that election was the one that was considered right. But again, as you say, Daktari, this can happen in Kenya in 10 years. The president is doing exactly what the Tanzanian president wants him to do. He erased the death of thousands of people, did not mention it even for a second. He congratulated her. There's talk of a call being made across the border at the time these protests were happening. And if you look at Samia's reaction to the protests, it's the same reaction President Ruto had. just that she shut the internet for a few more days, because President Ruto also did the same thing. It's the same tactic. And Bangladesh, the same thing happened before people were murdered and she was deposed. But the same tactic that was deployed in Kenya, the shooting of people in the head, the murder of people and the jailing and charging with treason. Right now, there's still around 75 Kenyans who are still being charged with terrorism.
Yeah.
And a good half of them are still in jail because they can't afford bail, because the judiciary just can't grant them bail terms because of the charge leveled against them. But the president has consistently called these people treasonous elements. Even in the interview yesterday, he said that these were elements that were hijacking the protest, which is absolutely false. He lies to himself just to say these statements and justify what he's doing. Frankly, we could go about this for hours and hours, but I have one last question to you, Daktari.
There's something we need to do very quickly.
Yeah.
2017 repeat of the elections.
Yeah.
The notion that the election was bungled is wrong, because the other contester absconded. And when you
Abstained.
abstained.
Yes.
And when you abstain, then the people have to move forward. Because we even know, and we should not pretend about it, he abstained because he knew he had no path to winning.
No, he abstained because he did not believe in the process at the time.
No, he did not believe in the process, but he also did not have a path to winning.
But
And
yeah.
you know the thing is that some of us have deeper insights into this, and we follow the elections all the way up to the end. So after abstaining, and you have no credible reason for abstention, then you cannot claim that you should have been given an opportunity.
I think if you level that criticism to Raila Odinga and his decision to not participate in the election in 2017, then you'd say the same of Tundu Lissu, because he abstained for the same reasons. Tundu and the whole party Chadema did not believe in the... Yeah, he was in jail.
No, he was in jail,
yes.
So he could not participate.
You can still participate while in jail.
No, in the democracy, it is not, that is not right.
Why was he in jail in the first place? He was in jail because at a political rally, before the election, he said that this election needs systemic changes. It's not going to be a free and fair election.
Correct.
And that's why he was charged with treason, because of those statements. His party had the option to run, but they were dismissed. They were not allowed to even run as a party. Only inferior opponents were allowed to run. And the reason he stayed and the reason Chadema urged its supporters to stay outside the election was because they didn't believe it's a free and fair election. And that's exactly what we've seen. Even those people who participated in the election, it's a 96% win. There is absolutely no democracy in the world where 96% vote is possible. But Dr. you could go on and on about this. CCM, that's the organization that you run, Concerned Citizens Movement. Yeah, CCMK, you're right. I just need to say CCM just to make the point. Is there a difference with Chama Pinduzi, or is it the same thing?
Yeah, the first thing is that we are not a political party. Yeah. CCM Tanzania is a political party.
Okay.
We are not a political party.
Okay.
We are an advocacy movement for good leadership and governance.
Are you going to be a political party soon? Well, you should change the name. You should definitely change the name.
No, CCMK. No, we are actually not the only CCM. There are CCMs in other countries.
Oh.
Concerned Citizens movements are there in many countries.
Oh, really?
So that is why we are CCMK. Wow. That is Kenya.
Yeah.
Because in every country, there are citizens who are concerned about the leadership and governance of their country.
That's good to hear.
Yes.
That's good to hear. Just in case you put it in the caption, people don't come for us for platforming Samia's party. But before we finish, we normally do something called the public participation. It's a small section of this show where we bring to your attention a bill that you need to pay attention to because it's nearing its stage of public participation. But for this one specifically, public participation is open for the Public Participation Bill 44 of 2025. This was a bill that was sponsored by two members of parliament, one of them being Otiende Molo, who's part of ODM, now part of the broad-based government. But it's a bill that, according to what they say, will allow citizens to have a structured way of participating in lawmaking. Public participation has been a huge bone of contention for the past 2 years. The cybercrimes bill that was recently passed didn't see much public participation. And a lot of people have been asking for public participation to be structured and anchored in law. It's mentioned in the Constitution, but we see traces of it being implemented deliberately by government. This specific bill is open for your participation through a hand-delivered opinion or a memoranda to the clerk of the National Assembly, or you could also send your email to cna@parliament.co.ke, by Wednesday, 19th November. cna@parliament.go.ke, cna@parliament.go.ke, which is the email of the clerk of the National Assembly. Remember, the deadline is November 19th. Express your opinions. I've read the bill. I've read how it looks, and I think at the center of it, my huge contention is there is mention of online opinions being considered, which I think is something that people have been asking for. Yes. If you can't send an email, you should be able to tweet and at the clerk of National Assembly, and they should be able to consider your memoranda or your opinion. Yeah. But that's a very vague statement, such a vague statement.
Even the timeline about it, like how they're going to give enough time for people to like if you're publicly participating in any forum, they'll give you enough time for you to send that in. I think we should have specific stipulations, because if you just say we'll give you enough time, that could be anywhere between now and forever. Like it has to be a little more specific, especially depending with the concerns of the bill, the people it's affecting. Yes. That's included there, but I wish they had like a bigger clarity on what that enough time means. Yeah, I think that's my biggest concern with
and so many concerns, including who's going to be overseeing this process. But Dr. Before we let you come in, Justine, something huge happened in New York.
Yeah. First of all, let me just say, happy Mamdanistan to all New Yorkers. That's you guys did it. You fought the establishment, you fought the status quo, and you won, and that did not come easy. In case anyone is not aware, Zoran Mamdani, who's from the Democratic Socialist Party of the Democratic Party, won the New York mayoral seat. He beat Andrew Cuomo and Curtis Sliwa, who one of them was the Republican candidate. Andrew Cuomo ran as an independent after being beaten in the primaries by Zoran. Yes. So I really loved how Zoran ran his campaign, because it was centered around the politics of care. There's many people who've compared Zoran's run and Trump's run, because I think they spoke to two very specific elements. The first thing is like their messaging was very clear, very easy to understand, which draws in a lot of people. You're not doing power puff pieces and all these power plays with other people. It's like, look, this is what I'm doing. So Trump was like, I'm anti-immigration, I'm going to lower the price of groceries, and I am very anti-woke. And then Zoran's message was affordability, inclusivity, and he was anti-genocide. And that's something that a lot of younger people resonated with. 90,000, I think it's 90,000 people went out and canvassed and volunteered to like go and knock on doors and speak to people. That's a lot of people. Yes. And then outside of their messages both being clear, Trump and Zoran also were very anti-establishment, like they were fighting the system. It's like the system does not favor us, we have to do something to disrupt it. And that message really resonated with people. Some people were pro-MAGA, went all the way to the other side, and then they've been abandoned. Right now there's bread lines everywhere because SNAP benefits are being cut. But then people are hoping with Mamdani's win, he goes the other way with execution, where he executes from the point that his affordability agenda, which was at the very core of like what people were drawn to, especially working class families, works.
Yes.
So I think my key takeaways with his run are five things. He did politics of care. Working class people across the world, it's not just New York, watu wanakapitia, people are suffering. So when you find a candidate who is just willing to go through the depths of like what you're going through and not present nonsense solutions where I will look into it, that's not anything. it's like, this is what I will do.
Yeah.
It's like, I care about you, and now for me to run on this particular platform. The second thing is relatability. His campaign was very fun, very funny. People understood what he was talking about. He used social media in a way that was really very millennial-esque, you know, like millennials have been on the internet and they love to record themselves and make funny videos.
Yeah.
And people went back into his like music catalog. He was a failed rapper. It was just like, it was so much fun for the people who like really live throughout the edge of the internet to see and like relate to that. Like, you can have a side quest in your life and still, you know, be serious about very important things. Another thing was like, his campaign was very funny and engaging. He made a lot of memes. He spoke to everyday people. The first video I saw of Zoran was before he ran, he was polling at 1%. He went and like he stood, I don't remember the intersection where he stood, but he was speaking to people and he was asking them who they voted for.
Yeah.
And why they voted for. Like, when someone says they voted for Trump, he would ask them, why did you vote for Trump? And they would give their reasons. And he did not shame them. He did not make them feel uncomfortable, which was a very huge draw-in for a lot of people who always felt like politics is either me or them. Yeah, like the me versus them thing was gone. And also, another thing he did really well, know thy enemy. He knew, because he's South Asian and Muslim and from Uganda, and like, all these things will come at you. He made really funny memes. He gave like the New York Post titles to use. He like, one of them he did was like, Uganda be disappointed or something. It was really funny and very relatable for a lot of people, but also it spoke to people knowing how the anti-immigration rhetoric presents itself, how Islamophobia presents itself. So when you know your enemy, you can cut right through the noise. The last thing he did was to stay on message. And these 5 things are things that I would like to connect to our Kenyan audience. Right now, I feel like there's such a huge disconnect. The politics of care are barely there, where people are just, they know the enemy. They know the enemy is this particular person, and we are chanting this particular phrase, but what are you willing to do for the people? We need to understand that message. When people in Nairobi are like, Nairobi is becoming expensive, I have to live in another county and commute coming back. Sakaja has not fixed the drainages. If he could just lend us his dimple so we can do it. Like, if we can really, really get into the message of like what's wrong, and people understand like we do have an enemy, and it's not like an enemy to fight, but like a system we need to change, and how we can relate and make this engaging and care about the people who are experiencing all these things. I feel like Kenyans in the moment that we are in, if we build into these things that we understand and want to change, I think we can fix it. Lastly, I think Zoran did something really amazing where he's a democratic socialist. People don't know what socialism is. I barely know what it is, but I do understand like America and New York in particular. New York is literally the capital of capitalism. Like, billionaires there, like the Netflix co-founder, Airbnb co-founder, the owner of Estee Lauder, which is like, I think, a cosmetics Du Bois thing in New York, and like even all former mayors came together to put in money to stop him. And it didn't work because people believe in a vision that's bigger than what they're seeing, what they've been fed, because they found a middle ground with someone. And even running on a socialist platform is very anti everything to what America is.
That is true.
And he understood it, but he made sure to make the message so simple. So the thing that I'm afraid of, at least from my POV, is like the establishment, the system as it stands, could detrimentally make sure he fails, so as to set an example for him him and anyone running on that platform to never try that again.
It would definitely fight him.
Yes, but so far his transition team looks good. He has people who fought tech giants and everything, and they've come out on top in a way. So maybe he's going to do it. I really hope he's able to do it so that it actually sets an example of what can change. And to Kenyans, just like figure out at the core, what is it that you really want? You message it properly. Whoever's running, make sure that intersection of what people need and the messaging, the positivity of what can be achieved is also centered outside of huyu ni enemy wetu.
Yeah, there should be a message behind it.
Yeah.
And before we finish, Justine, and before I let you speak, Daktari, there is a comment here from Mukoya Ayua. Thank you so much for watching, Mukoya. He says, Sadakta, halafu, tazama YouTube ya Africa Uncensored, tazama YouTube ya Africa Uncensored. That's good advice. Kuhusu serikali ilivyo na inavyodukua data za raia kiolela, na leo kuna #state of elections in Tanzania. He's promoting the show, and I think that's really good of him. Asante, Mukoya. Justine, I don't know if that's a message to you, Daktari, but I think you should do more memes. You should.
We can shoot one right now.
Yeah, you should. That's how he won the election. Yeah. He spread a message. He got people inspired. He got people to volunteer. 90 to 100,000 volunteers in New York.
To look forward to.
Exactly, in New York. You know how in capitalist New York is, there are people who are probably working 3 shifts, but still got time to volunteer for him, for his campaign. Yeah. I know that you have political ambitions.
Correct.
And I think you should take that path. You should take that path of campaign.
That is a good way to go. And I think for the biggest lesson here for Kenyans, in addition to what you have said, is that we need, the New Yorkers and the Americans all the time prove it, that you do not get bribed by the leader, the contending leader, or the contesting leader, in order for you to elect them. You actually volunteer yourself and your resources to get the leader you want. Because the moment you get bribed by a leader, first of all, remember, a leader who comes and bribes you with money, that is your money they have stolen, and they are giving it to you. And the moment you elect them because of that, the 50 bobs and the 20 bobs that people get, not a lot of money, but in totality it's a lot of money. When they get in, the first thing they do is not to serve you, but to steal from you. First of all, to recover the money that they stole, they gave to you after having stolen it from you, and accumulate enough to give you the next time. So for the next 5 years, you will not get service. And that is where we keep saying, we actually program ourselves for failure by following politicians and taking their packets of sugar and the 50 bobs. You program yourself for failure. Because once they get in, they will not remember you. And it is very simple. Today, you are employed by this organization, and it's paying you salary. Tomorrow, you go to another organization and you lose your job. Will you come back here and say, I used to work here, pay me some salary? They will not pay you. You transacted. So we must, this is a good example that do not be involved in transactional elections, where you are given an incentive which is not promised for service. You are given an incentive in terms of tangible to elect somebody. It will not help us. If we do that, we will always be planning for failure, lack of service. So those are good lessons, and I'll take them. I'll take them. I'll use them. Yeah. So, Justine, nitakuja. I'll come to you.
And what's your last word on Tanzania, briefly?
Now, my last word on Tanzania is that, first of all, I will ask the people of Tanzania to continue with the pressure to ensure that their leaders come back to their senses. If they cannot, they should leave the Tanzanians to elect their leaders that will serve them. And for the leaders of Tanzania, Tanzania we know is a democracy. They should go back to the tenets of democracy. Service to the people, rule of law. That is what they should do. And there is no other way. If they continue this way, the rest of the world community will catch up with them. And we know people like Milosevic, Saddam Hussein, and others. Don't go that route.
It's a dark path to walk down.
Yeah.
Asante sana, Daktari, for joining us.
You're welcome.
Your insights are very much important and were important for this show. It couldn't have been anything without you, honestly. Justine, as always, asante for joining me, for being so funny and very insightful. Make sure you take our advice. But that's all from our show today. I've been your host, Tom Muhwana. And I'll leave you with one more time the trailer for our latest documentary, Invisible Eyes. Make sure you go and watch it and have a brilliant night.
In Kenya, someone is always watching.
I think we are all being watched. If they need me, they'll still get me.
Kenya has seen an increase in abductions, disappearances, arrests, and killings.
Now to a top story. Concern is mounting over the discovery of dead bodies of missing persons in the wake of increasing cases of abduction in the country.
Last year, after people broke into parliament, there was a lot of death and element of sadness and the realization that it could have been any one of us.
State surveillance is a complex task with far-reaching implications. Its actors are agents working in the shadows, drawn from the intelligence service or the police, but working in secret.
In the intelligence world, mobile phone is vulnerable to ubiquitous surveillance.
We ask the question, what does the state do when nobody's watching? In Kenya, someone is always watching.
I think we are all being watched. If they need me, they'll still get me.
Kenya has seen an increase in abductions, disappearances, arrests, and killings.
Now to a top story. Concern is mounting over the discovery of dead bodies of missing persons in the wake of increasing cases of